Please be advised that this episode contains discussion of drug use and death. Nothing said constitutes legal or medical advice.
Chai After Dark includes adult language and NSFW content. If you have auntie sensibilities or uncle sensibilities, this podcast may not be for you.
Salam, namaste, and sat sri akal, everyone. It is your co-host with the mo-host, Captain Ron from GreatPods.co, with another edition of Chai After Dark's The Steep. On this episode, we are going in on Jasveen The Ketamine Queen, who was indicted following the overdose of Friends star Matthew Perry. Jasveen is of South Asian descent and from out here in LA. Shabnam takes the indictment by the horns, and we get her legal read-through. And Sameem and I try to make sense of it. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the indictment? That sounds weird, but enjoy the show.
Okay.
Oh, Sameem's favorite rice cooker.
Shit stained. Oh, you removed the shit stained. Okay.
Shit stain rice.
I moved it, man.
Well, welcome everybody to another episode of Chai After Dark, True Crime.
True crime. Oh,
Hold on, let me take a real sip of chai. You guys are posers.
oh, I got my chai too.
I just finished mine right before we started.
I accidentally dumped like 4 spoons of sugar in here, so I'm a little hopped up.
I thought you were. We got to count down. Hold on.
I thought you were going to say you dumped 4 spoons of ketamine in here.
Oh, way to be on topic.
Slay.
Wow. I thought you were going to actually say that's some good chai, but
I'm not going to say that because this chai is fairly mediocre, but I'm usually a lot better.
actually, hey, story time for listeners before we get to the topic at hand. Sameem had come over and so did Shabnam. Shabnam, you were there, right? At my birthday. We had birthday in San Francisco in my apartment.
Which, like, many
You're
years
talking
ago?
about, like, mid-2005?
The whole thread showed up.
I
Mid
think
2015
so.
Or something like that, 2016, whatever. When I was living in San Francisco,
Yeah.
y'all had come over, and this is a story about Sameem, but we wanted some chai, and Sameem actually made some really great chai. So I'm not making fun of him right now at all. Like, when he's bragging about his chai, like, he makes pretty good chai. Yes, I can confirm he actually can make some pretty good
I remember
chai.
I destroyed your kitchen because
That's right. It did flow over.
it's so hard
yeah.
to pour
Boil
chai
water, though.
out of a non-chai pot. And Imran's kitchen
Yeah.
had chai all over the counters, so half of it didn't make it into the cups, but that's okay.
Hey, whatever made it was some good chai.
Thank you, man. I appreciate that. This is probably the nicest you've ever been to me.
Now go fuck yourself.
That's probably the second nicest thing you ever said to me.
Sameem was the birthday chaiwala.
Oh yeah,
Birthday chaiwala.
See you soon.
We got to throw that clip.
That's an inside joke for our friends. Okay. So here we are, ladies and gentlemen, Chai After Dark, and Shabnam is going to be taking this bad boy episode or bad girl episode, and she's going to be in charge of it. So Shabnam, here we go. Or any stories for this week?
Let's just
You
get
guys-
into it. Let's get into this true crime.
All right, boss lady has spoken. Let's go.
That investigation has revealed a broad, underground criminal network responsible for distributing large quantities of ketamine to Mr. Perry and others. This network included a live-in assistant, various go-betweens, 2 medical doctors, and a major source of drug supply known as, quote, the Ketamine Queen.
This is the story of Jasveen Sangha, the Ketamine Queen, who was recently charged along with 4 other people in connection with the death of the famous actor Matthew Perry, best known for his role as Chandler Bing on Friends. Rest in peace, Matthew Perry. This entire case was a huge tragedy, and it gives us a glimpse into the struggle of addiction. Matthew Perry, however, was also an amazingly talented actor who brought a lot of joy to my life through his portrayal of Chandler. I had many nights where I was going through some shit and I would watch Friends, and Matthew Perry's humor would really help me make things a little lighter in my life. So one of my most favorite clips is season 2, episode 1, when Chandler confronts Joey. So I'm going to play that for you guys, and then you guys tell me what your favorite clips were.
Your tailor is a very bad man.
Frankie, what are you talking about?
Hey, what's going on?
Joey's tailor took advantage of me.
What? No way. I've been going to the guy for 12 years.
Oh, come on. He said he was going to do my inseam, then he ran his hand up my leg, and then there was definite...
What?
Cupping.
So that's one of my favorite clips.
Well, it's funny that you play that, and then my clip, this is Captain Ron, by the way, is in the similar vibes. Because Chandler has this look about him, like, where he does his hands, like, open up, and he's like, what is this really happening?
Chandler goes, could you be any more whatever? Right?
Yeah, it's funny to me. Samim, what's your reaction?
You want me to react to Chandler
Cupping.
being cupped?
Yeah.
It's pretty hot. Not gonna lie.
Yes.
Who do you guys think is the hottest friend?
I think Courtney Cox, Monica.
I'm gonna say
Just
Monica.
by the last name.
Wait, why are we being misogynistic?
I don't know.
What do you mean?
Why can't it be?
Why are
No,
we?
Yeah, why can't it be Joey?
I mean, what? Because
why we-
Joey's not as hot as Monica. Like, he's just not. When Brad Pitt came on the show as a guest, he would be the hottest one.
So anyway, my favorite clip was in the same lines of Shubnam with the whole handsy type of thing. So here's my clip.
This team's about hard work, but it's also about having fun. Good to have you aboard. Bing!
When he got his
Slapping
ass
his
banged.
bottom. I gotta tell you, I think it's okay to be that guy.
Yeah, maybe it's like, that jock thing. You know how football players pat each other after touchdowns?
I don't understand guys. I mean, I would never congratulate Monica on a great stew by, grabbing her boob.
Yeah, I know. For a really great stew, you just, stick your head in between them.
That's my favorite clip because, maybe that'll get me canceled because I would do that to my friends.
Because you would do that to Samim. Have you ever
If we were in the same room right now, yeah, I would do that. I'd be like, Samim.
You'd be like, get over here,
I'd just
Samim.
be casually
put that
sitting
thing
on
right
his
here.
hand,
All right, there we go.
keeping my ass warm. Thank you. Imran warm.
Okay.
You won't be able to get away. Oh, just you wait. Just you wait until we meet again. It's gonna happen.
So,
And Shubnam, you have to be there to record it.
I have to record it that's for our subscribers.
Save that for the Patreon or Substack subscription. Yeah.
In this episode, though, we are going to be focusing on Jasveen Sangha, who we are going to roast because she has been indicted in the case resulting in Matthew Perry's death. She allegedly, and I was going to wear an allegedly t-shirt, but I forgot. She allegedly caused his death, and she was maintaining blonde as a Desi girl. So basically, she's definitely a criminal. Now, I need to stress the importance of representation here. Everyone thinks Desis are just doctors and engineers. But no, we can be criminals too.
And just for your information, Desi means South Asians.
And Jasveen is not just any criminal, she's a queen. She's criminal royalty, okay? So authorities are claiming Jasveen the Ketamine Queen was the primary supplier of the ketamine that Matthew Perry took on the day of his death. They also believe Jasveen may be responsible for more deaths given the alleged scope of her drug dealing, and all this is explained in the 34-page indictment against her and 4 others.
What?
Yeah.
more?
Yeah, so the indictment is against her and a doctor and then a bunch of co-conspirators. So I'll go into that a little bit more as we move further along. But yeah.
Gotcha.
Funnily enough, the indictment actually says United States of America plaintiff versus Jasveen Sangha, aka the Ketamine Queen. So I thought that was kind of funny.
The indictment has her nickname?
Yeah.
So even indictments are getting sensationalized.
It had to be an intern.
It's not just the media. Indictments need to get all.
It was an intern that came from like TMZ. Like, hey, I get to work for the United States government.
Yeah, we can't put her name in here. We got to put her sensationalized media.
Her
nickname.
TikTok name. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's her TikTok name.
Yeah. So the indictment says Jasveen sold ketamine on August 26th, 2019 to a customer who died of a drug overdose within a day of the drug deal. And a family member of that person who died texted Jasveen within a few days saying, quote unquote, the ketamine you sold my brother killed him. It's listed as the cause of death. So within days of receiving that text message, Jasveen did a Google search for, can ketamine be listed as a cause of death? And so remember, this is back in 2019. So she knew that this could result in death. Basically, Jasveen has been the ketamine queen for at least a few years, hence the fur, nice cars, and her ability to maintain blonde as a desi girl. What's up, Imran?
Question. The Google search that she had done that was saved in her search results, does it say what she did with that information?
No, it just...
2019?
No, it just says that she searched that in Google.
All right. I mean, obviously we know she didn't quit, but yeah.
Yeah. So the story, as told in the indictment, really starts with Jasveen's co-defendant, Dr. Salvador Plasencia, supplying Matthew Perry with ketamine through Matthew Perry's personal assistant, Kenneth Iwamasa. So Dr. P, as they called him, was sourcing ketamine with another doctor, Dr. Chavez, through fraudulent prescriptions. According to the indictment, they would get him usually 5 to 10 vials at a time. As Matthew Perry approached what we now know as the last few weeks of his life, it seems like his assistant was looking for more ketamine from a different source. This is where Jasveen, the Ketamine Queen, came into the picture. So on October 10th, 2023, and remember he passed away on October 28th, so this is, within a few weeks, Matthew Perry's assistant sent a text message to a mule named Eric Fleming. So I'm just going to call him the mule, requesting ketamine. He said, how much do you want per bottle and what is a nice tip you want? The mule texts back saying, perfect, and I'll bring it to you. Getting price now. I need some upfront pay when I pick up and rest when I deliver. Then the mule messages Jasveen saying, hi Jas, it's Eric. Let me know your Addy. How many vials do you have availability? After nailing down the deets with the Ketamine Queen, the mule told Matthew Perry's assistant that he would get vials of ketamine for $300 and sent pics of the vials to Matthew Perry's assistant. He also requested a $1,000 fee for himself to basically be what? The mule. The next day, October 11th, Jasveen told the mule that her ketamine was high quality. She's the queen after all, and offered him a sample for Matthew Perry to try, stating, it's unmarked, but it's amazing. He take one and try it, and I have more if he likes. There's a typo in there, but when I read that, all I heard was, he take one and he try it, and then if he likes more, I get more.
Now you're going to get canceled.
Oh, man.
Okay.
Although she's probably Americanized or American.
You would know.
I don't. So to be clear, I don't know Jasveen, but we are Facebook friends.
Oh.
And that's as far as that acquaintance level has gone. Remember back in the day of Facebook, we were just adding random people as well. I can't recall if I ever met her at a Desi party or not back in the 20-aughts or whatever. What do they call it? The naughties?
They call the aughts, I think.
Aughts and naughties. I think the British folks, I've been listening to the BBC a lot, so they go like naughties. But yeah, I frankly don't know her. So I just want to make that clear. But we are Facebook friends, so I do have a lot of people in common. And I've reached out to some friends that I'm in contact with for some comments. And we'll do a follow-up on another episode at some point. But, as journalists, right? We are journalists.
Because we're such serious journalists.
As podcast journalists, it's actually kind of difficult to get comments, People don't want to talk or they don't reply or whatnot. So that's a work in progress as we speak. So stay tuned on that sort of update. But yeah, I don't know her.
You guys are basically around the same age, went to university in basically Southern California.
She went to University of California, Irvine, UCI. I went to USC, but I was very extroverted and social back then. So I did a lot of intercollegiate stuff. So a lot of my Desi friends also came from UCI as well. So I hung out there. So that's why we probably crossed paths, but that's about the extent.
Let's get her for a jailhouse interview.
Dude, we would totally blow up on that.
She might have some things to say, right?
And maybe
I'm pretty sure she's not going to say anything at this point in time.
yeah, wait till... Do you have any comments? Jasveen, do you have any comments? Are we going to send actual reporter down for us at the courthouse?
I've seen jailhouse interviews before. But I guess you're right. It's after the conviction or whatever their fate is. It's already been decided.
That would be interesting if we did something like that.
Yeah. So then the mule texts Matthew Perry's assistant saying, just got this from my person. She only deals with high end and celebs. If it were not great stuff, she'd lose her business. Okay. Then the next day on October 12th, the mule contacted Jasveen to get the sample and actually told Jasveen that the ketamine was for Matthew Perry. So she knew it was for Matthew Perry. After that, the mule messaged Matthew Perry's assistant that his hookup, meaning Jasveen, was, quote, able to get the kind that is used for intramuscular. I guarantee it's going to be amazing, unquote, and sent a pic of the unlabeled, unmarked, clear glass vials of ketamine from Jasveen. Because pick or it didn't happen. So here
I'm listening so far, and I'm just like, I'm kind of shaking my head, but this is kind of
wild, right?
It's detailed and wild.
Yeah.
This is the first time I'm going through an indictment too, so that's cool.
Yeah. So I just want to point out here that these are unlabeled, unmarked clear glass vials. So what he was getting from the doctors, like initially that Dr. P guy and Dr. Chavez, were labeled and marked. They were just fraudulent prescriptions, right? So they were obtained fraudulently. But it just makes me wonder if this was in fact the same exact thing, or was it maybe more potent or mixed with something else? I don't think we can be sure. At least they haven't made any test results public, and I don't see anything so far that I've found that's saying they even did tests, but I just thought that was interesting, that it's like unlabeled, unmarked. On October 13th, the mule drove to Jasveen's apartment in North Hollywood, which the indictment calls the Sangha Stash House. And he got the sample from Jasveen and drove it to Matthew Perry's house and gave it to Matthew Perry's personal assistant.
Now, that is also shocking to me. Like, the fact that she was in my radius, because part of my stay is out in the valley as well. And it's just kind of like, oh my God, this was all happening within 10 miles of where I live in LA. Like, this is crazy. So,
yeah. So the same day, the mule told Matthew Perry's personal assistant that he could get even more, saying, let me know how many and I'll confirm what she can get. But as of now, she said she can fill any order. So the assistant messaged back saying, quote, 25 vials, $5,500 at $220 plus $500 for your logistics. So meaning that I want 25 vials and I want them at $220 instead of the $300 he was originally quoted, and that's $5,500. Plus, I'll give you $500 for your logistics, not the $1,000 that you originally requested.
Seems a little.
No,
I don't know. Are they in like a flea market bargaining? These guys are like celebrities. Matthew Perry made $1 million an episode, right? At the end of Friends. Seems
Well, haven't you ever been to a bazaar? Like, I feel like Jasveen is like, nay, 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 ye nahi chalega. And she's like, doing her negotiation. With
it's like an open air drug market in her.
yeah.
Actually, that actually kind of makes sense. When you put it that way, yes, that makes sense.
Yeah. I would be, if I was buying some ketamine, I don't think I would go back and forth on the price. Like, you probably only have one desire, and it's getting that ketamine. To be able to bargain at the same time. That's like two different things.
I mean, I'd love to know your drug buying history.
I don't think I've ever bought any drugs before. No, I can definitively say I've never bought any drugs before. I don't know why I said maybe, but I don't know. I feel like if I did buy some drugs and some guy was... Have you guys seen The Office where Michael Scott tries to buy weed and they sell him like a caprese basil salad for $500 in the back of the...
Oh my God.
In the back of the... Scranton office park, and these two guys are like, yeah, just it's $500. I'm losing money on this, and it's literally a salad. And he gives him $500, and he tries to frame Toby. So he puts the salad in Toby's drawers, and then he calls the cops. And this is all in The Office.
Well, so I didn't do research into what the, street price of ketamine is, but I did read a little bit about how they were like hardcore ripping him off. Like this is a really large amount of money for the amount.
Yeah, what's the comparisons?
Not really sure on that, but I have some other information on ketamine that's pretty interesting. I did a little Google research on ketamine, and I talked to a couple of my doctor friends, including our good friend Homa. And I learned that ketamine works on the NMDA receptors in the brain, causing a dissociative state, and also has anti-pain properties. So I think it's used for two purposes from what I understand. It can be used as like an antidepressant for people with depression by psychiatrists, and then it can also be used as an anesthetic. And so my friend who's not Homa is an anesthesiologist, and she's used it in that context in the hospital to anesthetize people. But it causes a lot of stress on the body such that it increases the work your heart has to do. So when administered in a medical setting, it can be taken as a pill, a nasal spray, or intravenous infusion, which is how Matthew Perry's assistant was giving it to him, intravenous infusion. Oh. And when taken intravenously, onset occurs in less than a minute, and bioavailability is at its highest, 93%, as opposed to like below 50% for oral and nasal. The dose for infusion therapy for depression is usually 0.5 to 2 milligrams per kilogram of body weight, administered over a 45-minute period, usually repeated twice a week for 3 weeks. So 0.5 to 2 milligrams, that's a huge range, right? Like it's 4x, like 2 is 4x of 0.5. So that's already like a huge range. So to put this in perspective, my anesthesiologist friend said that the higher end of that dosage, like the 2 milligrams per kilogram of weight, is comparable to like a general anesthesia. So I have no idea how much Matthew Perry weighed, but, assuming he weighed a little under 200 pounds, the dose range would be like 45 to 180 milligrams for one dose. Each of those vials that he bought is 500 milligrams. So it contains 3 big doses for him. And he used 25 vials in like a little over a week. So that's pretty crazy.
I would imagine when I first heard this story, I automatically assumed it was more of a suicide, and we probably will never know, because he did say to his assistant, it's in the indictment, he says like, fill me up or give it to me as, not give it to me as hard as you can. I'm trying to figure out a different way to say this, but he ordered his assistant to like basically let the gamut run. So I don't know if that's like a suicide. Or if he's just in a different state of mind, but it seemed like he was near the end regardless.
Well, it's also just, I think, addiction maybe.
Totally,
like, I don't know what people in the thick of addiction are like, right? And how much different people's bodies can take. It's all kind of just very, you don't really know what your body can take until you try. And so, yeah, I don't know. I don't know exactly what his intention was.
And all this is like, as you're reading the vial part and, hey, fill me up, all that stuff. And I get reminded of Michael Jackson's death and the Propofol that he was taking and being administered upon his death as well. Because from what I know about that, like at least from the initial reports, like he had a healthy heart, his lungs maybe not, but a healthy heart. But he had that chronic pain in his lungs, and so he was just using Propofol and being administered that, right? So it's kind of like, oh my God, this is kind of flashbacks to MJ.
Yeah. And I think he spent like $50,000 in like a few weeks. Like most people don't have access to that amount of money, right? So even just being a celebrity, you have access to so much more. You can do things that most people can't really do. Just to put this in further perspective, my anesthesiologist friend said in a 12-hour surgery, a doctor wouldn't really go above 1 vial or 500 milligrams. And even then, most people would be around 200 milligrams or like less than half a vial.
Yeah.
For a 12-hour surgery. And this is when patients' heart rate has to be monitored and their oxygen and all of that stuff. And so, here we're talking about 25 vials and in a short amount of time. So it's pretty crazy.
That's a lot. That's overkill.
He had been doing this
Yeah.
his whole life, right? Like I read articles where he
struggled with this for many, many years.
He said he didn't even remember taping a bunch of Friends episodes. That's how high he used to be on set. Like reading through
really
his
sad.
book. I didn't read the whole book. I skimmed through it. He's just like, I was high all the time. I was still getting paid. A lot of his like funny improvisation that you guys probably enjoy watching Friends, a lot of that was when he was high as shit and he was improving. Like some of his like mannerisms and stuff. Like the dude was obviously extremely talented. Like he was such a good comedic actor.
It just makes me wonder. It feels like people like that self-medicate that much, they've been through trauma and they've found themselves in really difficult mental situations that's really, really hard to deal with. And so it just makes me wonder, there's so much more we don't know about him, what he's been through in life. And it just is really, really sad.
Do you guys remember the name of his book by any chance? Off the top of your heads without looking
I
it
almost
up?
looked it up, but no. What is it?
Yeah, I was gonna look for the audio book because he does read the audio book.
Oh, he
as
does.
Well,
the book Shabnam, if you are interested
Friends.
and you're interested in his back history, I didn't read the whole thing, but he does go into his past history, and there is a lot of trauma. I just don't know if it was familial or drugs or what when he was younger.
So the name of his book is Friends, Lovers, and the Big Terrible Thing, a memoir by Matthew Perry.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll have to read that one. So continuing,
This is a tough episode because we're like super serious and we're trying not to joke as well.
Yeah.
Like it's super interesting to me, but it's like, oh, can we crack a joke here? No,
I don't
we
know.
can't.
I don't think so.
Trying to figure it out.
To the listeners.
Let's crack a joke. Let's crack some jokes about
Jasveen.
Jasveen.
Yeah, let's do this for a second.
Well, when you get to her, we'll do that. Yeah.
Yeah. So a couple weeks before Matthew Perry passed away, on the 14th of October, the mule drove to Matthew Perry's house in Pacific Palisades and collected the $6,000 cash from Matthew Perry's assistant. Then drove to North Hollywood to Jasveen's stash house apartment and purchased the 25 vials of ketamine from the Queen herself, and then drove back to Matthew Perry's house in Pacific Palisades to deliver the ketamine to Matthew Perry's assistant. I was like, damn, that is a lot of driving in LA traffic. He really earned that $500.
I would imagine there was ketamine closer to Matthew Perry's house than Jasveen's drug den apartment, but you gotta go with the celebrity drug dealer, right? Not the guy on the street.
Oh yeah, what did you call it again, Shabnam? What did they call Jasveen's house?
The Sangha Stash House.
Sangha Stash House. Wow. I mean, she made.
I swear to God that it definitely was an intern that came up with all these phrases.
She got what she wanted. She wanted to be
Wasn't the
famous.
DA.
She wanted to have a jet-setting life. I read a little bit of these articles that we're referring to, and she's quoted as saying, like, all my friends are passing me by. They have careers and stuff, and she was still in a party mode in the mid-2010s. And then the drugs and the private jets and the money and the cash. I think that's what she wanted, but I don't necessarily know if she wanted it to come from like a drug dealer type of thing or if she just wanted to be rich in general. But I get that vibe where she's like, all these daisies around me are successful, they're moving ahead, they're getting jobs, they're getting married, and I'm just stuck in this party mode. So I think she leaned into it really hard to make herself, like, I don't know, attractive to the outside world.
I really like that observation because I get it. That phrase I get, but doesn't mean that I went that direction, right? Like I totally felt it in the 2010s when I moved up to San Francisco and I see all my friends, again, the same things, getting married, having great careers, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now, of course, I started Great Pods, and that's great and all, but go to greatpods.co. But yeah, in any case, like I feel that weight. But obviously, you know, I grew out of that because, you know what, this is actually a good time. We can still achieve great things, especially since I was reading and listening to podcasts and newspapers about people starting their first startup in their 40s. I'm like, yo, that's actually inspirational that it's not too late for anything. I just feel like she didn't have that support system or the people necessary to talk to. And
yeah,
she just
or the
definitely
perspective.
went down the dark side. Yeah, the perspective, especially the perspective. She didn't go to Hajj. You know, what are you going to do?
Well, no, you know, what happened was that her parents told her, become a doctor, become a doctor, become a doctor. And she just like misunderstood the assignment. And she was like, how about pharmacy, but not go to school? So that's what she did.
Very astute observation. Yeah, she was definitely a pharmacological doctor. Pharmacological expert. Am I saying that right?
Pharmacology. Pharmacological.
That's like
queen.
a second tier doctor, right? Like if your parents want you to become a doctor, they are not going to be happy if you're a pharmacist.
We are not here to insult our pharmacy friends, okay?
Yes.
Sorry.
Our pharmacy friends are great. Thank you for splitting the pills for us when we need it. So thank you so much. Don't try to get us canceled. Look, we're already getting canceled from
We're going to get canceled
right?
from the pharmacological Desi community. Dude, just go back and count. It's not that hard. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pills. Put them in the bottle. I'll come pick it up. $5 copay. You're doing a lot. Thank you, pharmacy community. Thank you, CSV or CVS or whatever.
This is the attitude Jasveen had, and she was like, "I don't need to go to school
I'm just
for
gonna
that.
do this shit. I can just count. I can count my own ketamine pills.
Unlabeled, unmarked. I'm good."
You can send all hate mail to Samim Sultan, San Diego,
You know
California.
what? I don't like it that you guys throw my last name into this podcast, and neither of you have yours on Substack. I'm the only one. Yeah,
Really?
I need to go change that.
What do you mean? My first name is Captain, last name is Ron. Captain Ron. What are you going to do?
You don't even have a boat, man.
Okay.
Get a boat first.
And I just want to make it clear. Wait, Jasveen had a boat?
She probably had a boat.
Or she was like just partying on the boat. I mean, that's all.
Yeah, I don't know if she had a boat, but I saw pictures of her in front of a private jet.
I saw pictures of her in a bathtub too.
Oh, hello.
But
hello.
Okay, so back to the story. So on October 14th, 2 weeks before Matthew Perry died, the mule delivered 25 vials of ketamine to his personal assistant at Pacific Palisades home. Then a week later, a week later after the 25 vials were delivered to Matthew Perry's home, on October 23rd, remember, this is again 5 days before his death, his assistant messaged the mule for more ketamine, stating, "We have to do the same as last time, again, over the next 2 days." And the mule responded, "It will be same product. You want same amount? Put $5,500 together ASAP, and I'll come get it as soon as possible to get it all done tonight." Then the mule goes to Matthew Perry's house and picks up the cash from his assistant. The next day, the mule told Matthew Perry's assistant that Jasveen was getting the ketamine from another source, whom she called master chef or scientist, and it was, quote unquote, on its way to our girl. That same day, which was October 24th, the mule went to Jasveen's Noho Sangha stash house apartment to pick up the second order of the 25 vials of ketamine. So now Jasveen the Ketamine Queen was also feeling a little generous that day. So just as like the nice doctor pharmacist that she is, she gave him some laced lollipops also with his order. It was kind of like an add-on for the large order, like when you go to C's and then they give you, like
the free candy
sample of chocolate on your way out. Yeah, kind of like
thank
that.
you so much for that, the extra goodies. Thank you. God.
Yeah, kind of like that, but death included.
Well, when you're charging thousands of dollars for a $12 vial, you probably should throw in some free drugs.
Yeah, exactly. So the mule took it to the assistant who injected Matthew Perry with the drugs. The next day, on October 25th, Jasveen sent the mule a message saying, "Please let me know if you think there will be another round because the scientist, he'll be gone as well. I'll have to know ahead of time to get that sorted out before we leave." So I was wondering, do you think she's hooking up with this MasterChef scientist? Maybe they were going on a bender together on a private island.
Who's the chef? What's his name?
We don't know. The indictment doesn't say.
I do have an update. So Dr. Mark Chavez, 54 years old, of San Diego, he made his first appearance in a LA courtroom just yesterday. And he's one of the 5 people that were charged with supplying large quantities of ketamine to Perry.
Yes.
So he was released on a $50,000 bond. He's already pleading guilty. He's incredibly remorseful because somebody passed away. So he's basically, sounds like Dr. Mark Chavez is going to be the one that probably ends up snitching on Jasveen and the other people, because he's already signed a plea agreement on July 22nd that he admitted that he illegally sourced the ketamine in multiple forms, funneled it to Placencia, and then Placencia was selling it to Perry.
Yeah, that's Dr.
I think
P.
that's Dr. P. Yeah, so seems like Dr. Chavez from San Diego is the one that's like, he's snitching.
Yeah, because so Dr. Chavez and Dr. P both had medical authority to actually prescribe this medication to people legitimately. But then they started doing, illegal stuff and fraudulent stuff with it. So it's interesting that he's, I guess, like fessing up now and maybe trying to take some responsibility and help out with the case. So pretty interesting. Okay, so over the next few days, Matthew Perry's assistant injects him with the ketamine that they got from Jasveen, the Ketamine Queen, at least 6 shots on October 25th, at least 6 shots on October 26th, at least 6 shots on October 27th, and at least 3 shots on October 28th, the day he passed away. So Matthew Perry was found face down in the hot tub outside his Pacific Palisades home in Los Angeles on October 28th, 2023. R.I.P. Matthew Perry.
Sad.
Yeah.
Bing.
So after the news breaks about Matthew Perry's death, Jasveen calls the mule on Signal because she's very privacy forward. She discusses distancing themselves from selling the ketamine to Matthew Perry, including deleting evidence on their cell phones. She updated her settings on Signal to delete messages between her and the mule after 1 hour and told him to, quote unquote, delete all our messages. So the funny thing is, in the indictment, there's a screenshot from the mule's phone on his Signal text thread with Jasveen, and he has her programmed in his phone as cat emoji Jazz. And so I was like, dude, why not crown emoji? Like, he really dropped the ball on that.
Or a pill. A pill emoji.
Yeah, or a pill.
I guess that would be a little bit too obvious.
But why cat?
Cat.
Yeah,
cat,
exactly, yeah.
Ketamine, cat. Maybe that's why.
Oh, ketamine. Oh, my God.
I know all that drug lingo.
Oh.
Why do you know all that drug lingo?
I mean, I've watched a lot of The Wire.
Nice.
Good save. Good save.
Okay. So on October 30th, the mule sent Jasveen a message saying, quote, "Please call, got more info, and want to bounce ideas off you. I'm 90% sure everyone is protected. I never dealt with Matthew Perry, only his assistant. So the assistant was the enabler. Also, they are doing a 3-month tox screening. Does K stay in your system or is it immediately flushed out?" End
She
quote.
should know. Why is she asking?
So, No. That was the mule
Sorry,
asking
that's
her.
right. So she should know. Yeah.
So yeah, the mule asking her. Yeah. That is where the story in the indictment kind of ends. But on August 14th of this year, Jasveen and the 4 others were indicted. So as you guys mentioned, the other people pleaded guilty. She's the only one that pleaded not guilty. And she has been indicted on conspiracy to distribute ketamine, distribution of ketamine resulting in death, possession with the intent to distribute methamphetamine, because they also found meth in her Sangha stash house, possession with the intent to distribute and distribution of ketamine, maintaining a drug-involved premises, altering and falsifying records related to a federal investigation. I think she deleted text messages and things like that. And then something called criminal forfeiture. Criminal forfeiture is interesting. It means that if she's found guilty, the government is asking the court to strip her rights, title, and interest to any property, real or personal. So this could be a house or an Hermes bag that she bought with the money of her crimes, or any property she used to commit the crimes, like the Sangha stash house, the North Hollywood apartment. If she doesn't have the property anymore, she would owe the amount of money equivalent to the value of that property. Yeah. So that's that.
Yeah. I don't know why she's not pleading guilty or trying to come up with something, because on August 15th of 2024, prosecutors struck deals with Iwamasa, who was Perry's personal assistant, Fleming, and Chavez before they arrested Dr. Salvador Plasencia and the alleged ketamine queen, Jasveen. So those two have their next court hearing on September 4th.
So that's the story of Jasveen the Ketamine Queen, who misunderstood the assignment of her parents telling her to be a doctor.
So what's the moral of the story, parents that are listening out there? Well, we talked about what she had said, what we had kind of I don't want to empathize with her, but the saying of how everybody's passing us by, they're getting married, kids, careers, and all that stuff. Now that age group of our friends, they're parents, right?
Yeah.
So in line with that, there are parents out there. So what is the advice for those parents?
Allow your kids to be who they want to be so they don't turn into criminals.
Or drug dealers.
Or anything else.
Yeah.
Well, it's just the same thing as criminals, but yeah.
But I think that's important what you're saying, right? Because there's many points in people's lives where you kind of decide, okay, am I going to kind of face my issues and try to do the right thing? Or am I going to go down a path that's not good and destructive and wrong? Yeah. And so I think that what you're talking about is you can relate to being at that point with her, but she clearly chose much different decisions than all of us. So
yes, thank you. Yes, that's an excellent clarification. Yes, very astute and clear, Shabnam. Thank you.
You're welcome.
But the only parent on this podcast, though, is Samim. I would love to hear his hot take, because anything can happen. We never know with ourselves and kids or whoever, right? So what is your take if your kid was going through a moment? How are you raising your kid? I think you're a liberal parent in your parenting. Yeah. You can correct me if I'm wrong about that, but how are you addressing something like this if it came to you?
I mean, I'm Sophie's in high school, right? She's just started 10th grade, so I understand things are going to be quite dicey maybe for 3 or 4 years while she adjust to this new high school world down in San Diego, but for the most part, it's just me and her. So I think I have a very unique situation where I can devote most of my free time to hanging out with her. So we'll go to concerts, we'll go to dinner. She comes with me and hangs out with some of my friends that are musicians. We'll go to some shows. So she's living a pretty unique lifestyle for growing up in a sort of Desi environment. The rest of my family is pretty conservative slash traditional Desi. They have fun too. They do things with their kids as well. But Sophie and I, Imran, you're totally right. If we were talking about this story, I wouldn't hide any details. I would say, Jasveen, the ketamine queen, these drugs fuck you up as you get older. Don't fucking do drugs. I've literally probably said that to her minus the F word. But I don't need her to.
You're not sugarcoating.
I'm not sugarcoating.
You prepped her enough.
Dude, you're on TikTok, you're on Instagram, you're going to see all this shit anyways. she said kids are smoking weed and vaping since like 7th, 8th grade in her middle school bathrooms, and they can fucking smell it.
Yeah.
So what am I going to hide from her? Whatever my parents try to hide from me, you got to know these things as you get older so you can A, avoid it, or B, partake in a more moderate manner. So I don't know. I'm not the perfect parent. I'm definitely not the perfect husband, but Sophie and I get along really, really well. And I don't know. I'm just trying to make sure she doesn't have any daddy issues by being around all the time as well. So I'm going to throw that out there too.
It sounds like also what you're getting at is I think sometimes when people go through moments like this, like we talked about, maybe we all went through, maybe Jasveen went through, and then she went down a bad path. You know, in addition to what we already talked about, it's like you get into this space where you're like sort of surprised by, okay, the real world and having all these options and being exposed to all these new things. And, you know, what decisions are you going to make around that? But it sounds like what you're saying is like with Sophie, you're really talking to her about that stuff. So it won't be as like shocking when she faces things. She'll have a little more understanding and she'll have thought about things a little more, as opposed to maybe people that grew up more conservatively where it's like, oh my gosh, I've never seen this before, never heard of this before. And like they have to struggle with that stuff being new in addition to deciding what choices they want to make.
Yeah, and I think one good thing about this generation as well is, and Shabnam, you have nephews that are Sophie's age, is they're leaning more into like good things in this world. So she's like, hardly any of my friends are boy crazy, when in the 90s, I think the whole point of going to high school in the United States was to like try to get a boyfriend or girlfriend. That's not true, but it was a lot more apparent back then. Now they're like, we want less sex and nudity in movies. We smoke less cigarettes. We definitely
don't want to drink as much.
We don't want to drink as much. There's definitely less high school sex. Like, this is all things that are good for parents nowadays. Obviously that stuff still exists, but Sophie tells me, she's like, kids are like on a different path. And I hate social media, and we talked about this in the last couple episodes, where it's just a complete like devil kind of environment that you can get sucked into. But the good thing about TikTok, there's a lot of positivity on there that I've seen, especially with kids trying to be better than their parents and the previous generation. I'm getting really sentimental and weird, but I don't know. I think that,
dude, where's the camera? Can we get the camera on so we can see you?
Yeah,
cry?
man, I'm about to like drop this. But yeah,
you're gonna
Save
shut
that
it
for the
here.
bathroom. Fuck, dude.
see, this is exactly what I'm saying, dude. You're still so daisy.
Okay, turn your camera off again.
Yeah, turn your camera back off. Turn your camera back off. We don't need
Your
it.
You guys
sound's
can't be
not gonna
seeing
be-
this shit, dude. Let me, yeah, exactly. Hey, I can't be putting my emotions down into myself anymore. I got to get them all out there.
Yeah. Turn over a new leaf. So, okay, that was Jasveen,
And stay tuned next week, guys, where we get back into Indian matchmaking.
episode 5.
My ketamine dealer is here,
All
so I
right.
got to go.
Oh, Jeebus.
All right, so should we wrap it up?
I always wrap it
and
up.
This is Cap. Oh, God damn it.
Okay, on that note, Imran.
And on that note, signing off from LA is Captain Ron.
And Shabnam from the San Francisco Bay Area.
From practically Mexico, San Diego, you got Samim, the rapper. Come find me at the beach today. I'll be there.
This is Jai. Oh, God. This is Jai After Dark, signing off.
This episode was produced, edited, marketed, and created by Shabnam, Captain Ron, and Samim of Jai After Dark, LLC, in association with Great Pods.